I'm John Beaudin. It's our interview with Peter Kearns, who just wrote a great book on 10cc. Every song, every album. Actually, Peter just finished his on-track book featuring Joni Mitchell, and that's coming up real soon. We interviewed Peter last year for his on-track Elton John Every Album, Every Song, 1969 to 1979. And this time around, it's on-track 10cc and Godley and Cream, Every Album, Every Song. Here's part one of our interview with Peter Kearns. So how far back do you go with 10cc?
As a child, I mean, all their stuff was on the air here, and then I got into them as a teenager. I heard the original soundtrack somewhere, and I thought, well, gee, I missed this one. Yeah, I got into it from there and went through everything up to that point. This was in about 86, I guess, and it just sort of went from there. But, I mean, as you know, I mean, like yourself, I'm interested in a lot of people. So when it came time to do the book, I hadn't really listened to 10cc for quite a while. And so it was nice to come back at it sort of fresh. And a couple of the albums, because it includes Godley and Cream as well, you see, the book. There was about 3 or 4 albums there that I'd never heard before anyway. So it was good to be able to approach it fresh without having, just any nostalgia or any sort of personal sort of feelings about the music sort of in there all the time. I'm pretty good at separating myself from that anyway. But it was nice to have some new music.
When you talk about bands that have layers, like multiple layers, 10cc is a band with so many layers. Personality, sides, rooms in a house. Like, you name it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've always liked that too. Musical highlights that occur only once, or things things are always changing. I've always liked that. Yeah.
Well, that first album, I remember I had got it from someone who was borrowing it from someone else, and I might have been 13 years old. And I remember thinking, even then, I understood that there was a lot of 50s influence on it. I got that because of neighbors who liked that kind of music. But my first thought was, I'm going, this sounds like a bunch of show tunes. I like it, but there was kind of like that, because show tunes have that kind of 50s feel to it sometimes, jiving, kind of bouncy tracks. When was the last time before you started this project that you had heard that first album?
Probably 20 years since I'd heard the whole thing, pretty much. Yeah.
What was it like though, going back and listening? Because you made me go back, and I'm even yesterday I was listening to the first album again. I remember going, I remember when I said that, yeah. And Rubber Bullets was really the only thing that kind of scratched the surface in North America, which was another song that has that feel to it. Were there surprises putting the book together? What was some of the surprises with the tunes? Any of the albums?
Yeah, well, as far as that album goes, as far as Rubber Bullets, for example, obviously I'd heard it quite a bit over the years in passing, but until I came to this and listened to them properly again, I didn't sort of realise the sort of Beach Boys influence that it had, especially in the middle section. Yep. It's very, very Beach Boys, but like you say, very much like a musical as well. And that kind of thing was happening all over the place. I would hear, I think occasionally they would definitely quote something with someone somewhere, but they didn't do that too often. Most of the time it was more just a feeling of something.
Well, it's interesting how I just interviewed Graham last year, and what a pleasant surprise, and I didn't know what to expect when I'd never heard him interviewed. I remember when Dreadlock Holiday was released and how much of a influential album that was, Bloody Tourist, for me. I was, I think, 17, 18. And then I talked to this guy, and I didn't want to leave the conversation. I just felt like this guy who wrote Holly's songs, and I couldn't believe. But when he joined the band, which, as you put in the book, it kind of leveled things off with Godley and Cream and him and Eric Stewart, he was already fairly successful.
Oh, yeah, no, already. Like, he'd already written, so like the Yardbirds things, For Your Love and Heart Full of Soul and Herman's Hermits and Wayne Fontana. There's various songs that he had written for people. And, of course, by that stage, by the 10cc stage, he, of course, had spent a lot of time doing the productions for Cass and Castanets in New York and From a Distance in Stockport. And, of course, at least one of those, they would work on those and then give them an arbitrary band name. But some of them, like, for example, Ohio Express, who I remembered as a child, who weren't actually a band, they were just a product name. And there's at least one Ohio Express single that was actually 10cc. I can't remember the name of it, but he worked on a lot of that stuff just prior to 10cc, getting involved with 10cc once and for all. Yeah.
He
So he'd done a lot of stuff. He'd done a lot of stuff by the time they got going.
When I asked him, I said, well, how do you, because one of the fan questions people had asked is, do you still talk to Eric? You know, and Eric was the good-looking guy. Eric was the lead singer. And, like, I mean, I remember seeing I'm Not in Love and going, I wish I looked like that guy. But I said, would you talk to him? Like I said, a fan asked, and he said, well, let's just say the relationship is not you, it's me. I'm going to say it's the opposite.
I refer to it in the book to an extent, mostly in connection with the split of the group. But basically, when it came to those personal sort of things, there was quite a level of that involved in the band with their split and everything. And I think without actually being there, like you can research, but unless you're actually there, I don't think you can really know. I mean, I had to be careful what I would say. You can't really be sure. And there was a lot of conflicting stories and things that I would read from different sources and stuff. And it was just difficult to get an exact sort of picture of what happened, you know. So I don't really want to speculate too much. I mean, I know from being in bands that, you know, things can happen. People can be lifelong friends, and then you can fall out with them, never speak to them again. I mean, I know all that sort of stuff can go on. And if you put a big business juggernaut, if I can only imagine, you know, you had a business juggernaut behind that, fueling that to an extent.
And being young and being at that age.
Exactly. You know, what, were they 26 or 27, something, when it all started to move or change for them? Yeah.
We'll have more from Peter Kearns coming up in a few days, talking about 10cc, on track, every album, every song. Make sure you comment on our video, subscribe to our channel, and share our videos. And remember, buy a t-shirt. It really helps support the channel. Links at the very top of the description of this video. And if you want to pick up Peter's books, we'll put links to that as well. I'm John Beaudin. This is Rocky Street Music.